With the NHL season winding down, what should we, as Sharks fans, be rooting for in the last week?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be taking stock of what we as Sharks fans should be rooting for with 1 week left in the season. Sharks have 4 games left, so we're going to be kind of looking at we're looking at draft picks, right? What are we rooting for the best interest for us? And then we're going to look at some Sharks who are close to hitting milestones or achievements. So we're going to be kind of looking at some of those to give us something positive to root for. So before we get into all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Terms and conditions apply. So we as Sharks fans we have to start with the number 1 overall pick. And we were hoping that maybe by the time this podcast came out, the Sharks would have it clinched. But due to tiebreakers and stuff, the Sharks' magic number is 2. 2 points. Basically, if they lose a regulation game or Chicago earns 2 points in their final 4 games, the Sharks will have clinched the number one overall odds heading into the draft lottery. And that is right. That has been the goal number 1 of this season, is to put yourself in the best possible position to draft Macklin Celebrini, who is the undisputed number 1 pick. Maybe not Connor Bedard level, but a franchise-changing player. This is a player who will continue with the Sharks rebuild as we look to build sustainable winning hockey in San Jose again. And Macklin Celebrini can be a huge, huge piece of that. So what we're rooting for right now, 1 loss out of the next 4. So just as a quick reminder, the Sharks play Thursday night against the Seattle Kraken in Seattle. Sharks have struggled to win games in Seattle in the brief history of the Kraken. Then they play their last home game of the season versus Minnesota on Saturday night. Then they play Edmonton, who is a playoff team, probably might be looking for some seeding. They play Calgary on the April 18th. So 3 of the games are on the road. I don't see the Sharks winning all 4 of these games, to be honest. They're going to lose one of these games, whether it comes Thursday night, Saturday night. I would be shocked if they got to Monday and still have not clinched the number 1 seeding. So we'll see. But that is goal number 1, right? Is to clinch that number 1, at least the highest odds of winning the draft lottery. So that's the first thing you want to do. Get that. One of the other things, we are rooting the Pittsburgh pick. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. I have like a full-on slides and presentation. We will talk about that here in a little bit. So the other key thing in this is rooting against the New Jersey Devils, because the Sharks have that second round pick from them. Of course, it would have become a first round pick if they had made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They missed out on the playoffs. They've shut Jack Hughes down. This team is done. Their schedule, they have 3 games left. They play at Toronto on Thursday night. They play at Philly on Saturday night, and then they play versus the Islanders on Monday. So we will kind of know where they sit, before the Sharks season is over. That pick right now, according to Tankathon, is sitting at pick number 42 at the moment. So we want them to basically lose out here the rest of the way to try to so you want them to lose out, and then you want kind of Buffalo to continue to win. They're tied, and then you want Calgary to kind of go on a little bit of a run here, as those are the teams that are kind of the closest to New Jersey. Calgary has 2 games in hand, and they're 4 points back, so we need Calgary to kind of go on a run here. And we need Buffalo, who's got the same amount of, also at 79 games, tied with 79 points. And both their records are identical. So we need Buffalo to kind of go on a little bit of a run here, try to get that pick up to number 8, which would then knock the Sharks' second round pick to number 40. So then you'd be looking at four picks in the top 40. I know this draft class isn't as strong, but still gives you a lot of ammunition to do stuff. And we'll spend plenty of time talking about trade ups and trade downs. If you wanted to package the Penguins pick and the Devils pick to go up and do something, you could definitely do that. So you need that pick to kind of get as good as possible. So yeah, getting that pick as good as possible helps you, again, give you plenty of ammunition to do other things. And yes, there's a drop off after, talking to all of our friends, there's definitely a drop off kind of after that 15. And it feels like it kind of plateaus, but still there's going to be good players. It's not like there's just the draft falls off and there's no good players. There's going to be plenty of good players end of the first round, beginning of the second round. Go listen to, my talk with Tony. He highlighted a bunch of good players that are going to be potentially there. So I think rooting against the Devils right now, I feel like that team is kind of cooked, to be honest. There has been a very disappointing season for them. They've lost 2 in a row. They've gone 4-5-1, and they're playing teams right now. At least 2 of the teams, right? Islanders are fighting for a playoff spot. Toronto's, is looking at seeding, making sure that they're ready to go. And I know the Flyers, who have been in a tailspin here, but John Tortorella is not going to let that team just kind of lie down and I expect that team to kind of fight to the end here. And I wouldn't be surprised if in their final games, at least maybe we see a little bit of a push from them for some respectability. So yeah, Devils pick. The goal is to try to get that as a top 40 pick. Feeling really good. There's a real potential that. And then the Sharks, one loss out of the last 4. Again, this is a Sharks team who has averaging, we've had multiple 9-game losing streaks this season, 4 9-game losing streaks this season. The Sharks get a point every 0.288 games played. So basically they get 1 point out of 4 games played. I think they can do it. I think they can kind of finish this off here. And I wouldn't be surprised, again, on tomorrow's episode, we're talking about how the Sharks have clinched the best odds going into the draft lottery. So, and with Chicago, again, I don't foresee them winning much here. Their final schedule is brutal here. Tonight against St. Louis is kind of their last, I feel like the last reasonable chance to win. They play Friday against Nashville. And then they play Sunday versus Carolina. Then they go on the road for their final 2 at Vegas, at LA. Vegas has been a bit of a mess, but I think that would be catastrophic if they lost 2. I know they've, the way the Knights are playing right now, they've lost 3 in a row. So they're probably counting on that win against Chicago there because they're going to need it. So they haven't officially clinched. The Blues have 0.1% chance or something like that to get in the playoffs. But basically the Golden Knights, I think they need a win or a point or something like that to get in. So it's going to be tough for the St. Louis to get in. But again, I just don't see Chicago getting much in the way of points to kind of finish this thing off. It's very much Sharks are going to have to do this on their own. And I am more. I believe that they're going to get it done here. So we're going to talk about the Penguins pick and kind of the perfect rooting guide for the Penguins pick. So we're going to look at all the teams around the Penguins, what to root for, and try to get that standing, kind of where the standings would kind of lay out if everything goes the way we would want it to. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. If you want to get delicious, stress-free, never frozen meals, Factor is the way to go. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Plus, discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. So what are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up your springtime goals. Get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes with Factor's ready-to-eat meals. So you can get back to doing what you love this spring. If you're looking for gourmet meals, they've got you covered. They have meals including filet mignon, shrimp, truffle butter, broccolini, and asparagus. I do love some broccolini. No fuss, no mess meals. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, and cleaning. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. They're tailored to your schedule, so you can customize your weekly meals with the flexibility to get as much or as little as you need. Pause or reschedule deliveries to suit your lifestyle. Plus, they have a fast premium meals without the need for cooking. Again, if you're anything like my house where it's kind of chaotic every afternoon, Factor meals are the way to go. And they're celebrating Earth Day all month long. Look out for the Earth Month Eats badge on the menu for their lowest carbon footprint meals. So head to factormeals.com/lockedonNHL. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get 50% off your box plus 20% off your next box. That's code LOCKEDONNHL at factormeals.com/lockedonNHL to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. All right, let's talk about the Penguins pick. So as of tonight, Wednesday night, the 10th, the Penguins pick is currently sitting at 15th. And while it is nice to have a pick in the top 15, I'm trying to be a little greedy. I want to get that pick at number 11. So it's possible, but very unlikely that the Sharks, that pick falls in the top 10. You basically need like Buffalo, New Jersey. Like you need a lot of these teams to kind of win out. I think there's a way to do it. It's not a very plausible path here, but there is a very plausible path for the Penguins pick to end up at number 11. And I have done my homework on this one. So what I did is I looked at all the schedules for the teams left, kind of in that range, tried to figure out where these guys, who needs wins, who needs losses, and try to make it plausible, right? Like I'm not just going to say like a team is just going to win out. That sounds unrealistic. So we'll start with the Seattle Kraken, who have 5 games left. They're at 79 points. Their schedule versus San Jose, I'm going to chalk that up as a win. They play out Dallas. Dallas is a total wagon right now. That's a loss. They play at St. Louis. That's a win. I know St. Louis is fighting for the playoff lives, but I'm going to be real here. And plus, we need this win. We're going to play at Winnipeg. Again, I know Winnipeg has had some troubles at the end of the season, but I just think Winnipeg's a better team. I'm going to count that as a loss. And they play at Minnesota. Both those teams are pretty even. But I'm going to give, in this scenario, I need the Kraken to get the win. So they win 3 out of their final 5 here. And they get 6 points. Bumps them up to 85 points for the season. All right. Next, our friends, the Flyers. 3 games left, 83 points. Again, this team is total tailspin right now. They play the Rangers. Rangers are a wagon. I'm going to count that as a loss. They play the Devils. Devils, again, without their best player, I think this is a disappointing season for them. They're ready for this thing to be over. We're going to count that as a win. And then they play the Caps at home, but the Caps fighting for their playoff lives right here. I'm going to count that as a loss. That gets the Flyers to 85 points. The Minnesota Wild, 4 games left, all on the road. They play at Vegas. Oh, they're also at 83 points. Play at Vegas. I count that as a loss. Again, Vegas trying to secure their playoffs spot. They play at the Sharks on Saturday night. I'm going to give that a win because I know the Sharks have played them tough, but still. They play at the Kings and then at Seattle. I already gave Seattle the win in this game. Kings have been playing better. 2 losses, so the Wild go 1-4 or 1-3 to end their season. Very realistic, right? They get 2 points, gets them at 85. Detroit Red Wings also fighting for their playoff lives here. 4 games left at 84 points. I did my math a little bit wrong here, but it doesn't matter. Pittsburgh win, or they play at Pittsburgh. That's basically a mini playoff game. That's what I did wrong. I wanted them to win there. That's a W. Sorry if you're watching on YouTube. That should be a W. Boom. They play at Toronto. Toronto's a good team. I'm going to give that a loss. They end the season with a home and home against Montreal. Win-win there. So Pittsburgh win, 2 wins versus Montreal, and a loss for Toronto. So going 3-1 in the last 4 games, 6 points. That gives them 90 points right there. Puts them in the playoffs in my scenario. Caps. 4 games left, 85 points right now. At Buffalo, I think that's a win. They play at versus Tampa versus Boston. Both those teams are very good. I'm going to give them losses. And they play at Philly. I already gave that loss when I did the Philly to the Flyers. I already kind of assigned that one as a win. 89 points. So they go 2-2, add 4 points, gives them 89 points. Our friends, the Pittsburgh Penguins, 4 games left, 84 points. They play at Detroit again. Basically a mini playoff game right there. Versus Boston, versus Nashville. Nashville is basically secure, kind of locked in there. Like Boston, Nashville are both, heading to the playoffs. Islanders also mini playoff guy, potentially mini playoff game right there. Not mini guy, could be a playoff game, like win and in type of scenario. In the scenario that we need the Penguins to lose out. So they lose out again. There's a very good chance they can win these games, but there's also a realistic possibility that this team, which has played better, some of their issues could creep back in, and they go 0 to end the season, 84 points. That puts the final standings. So whether number 10 is either New Jersey, Calgary, or Buffalo, that's kind of your number 10 spot there. But then number 11 at 84 points, Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 12, Seattle, 85. 13, the Flyers, 85. Minnesota, 85. And then Washington, 15 at 89 there. So that is the perfect scenario for the Sharks to get that 11th pick right there. So that is what it's very convoluted, but that is what we are rooting for as Sharks fans, to try to have pick 1, pick 11, pick 33, and then pick 40, 41, kind of depending on where the Devils kind of finish up. Still, you're gonna have your 4 picks in the top 41, 45, whatever there. That's great. That is a lot of ammunition heading into the draft to give you, if you want to go be aggressive, and we'll talk about all the different scenarios this offseason, as we'll have plenty of time to kill. Maybe even starting next week, as we're going to start to have, no more games to cover. We can dive into all the fun stuff, the offseason stuff, but this is the rooting guide right here of putting yourself again in the best possible position to succeed. So we need the Devils to lose out, and then we need the Kraken to pick up 3 out of their 5. Need Detroit to win 3 out of 4. And need the other teams to kind of just pick up some points here and there. So we'll get into some of the Sharks kind of milestones and achievements that we're, again, kind of rooting for, because I know it's been a tough year for these guys, but you still want them to succeed and hit some personal milestones. So we'll go through some of those here in just 1 minute. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. If you hate waiting, because who likes waiting? Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed's employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. So join more than 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Let's go to Indeed.com/lockedon, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. All right. Which of our Sharks players are close to hitting some milestones? William Eklund, of course, 4 goals in the last 4 games. It's a tough ask. But again, I'm just manifesting it out into the world. Be positive energy, et cetera, et cetera. Eklund right now is sitting at 16 goals, 25 assists, so 41 points in 76 games. Assuming he plays the last couple games here, 4 games, I mean, there's a good chance he could be looking at 45 points. Basically he's a point per game in the last 4 games here. 45 points in 80 games. That's kind of where we had him, and especially on a team that has been this bad, that is not a bad start to your first full season in the NHL. Again, the Sharks team that barely averages 2 goals a game, and you're averaging half a point a game, basically, in your first season on this type of team. So only going to go up from here. But yeah, that is 4 goals. 4 goals would be sweet. 4 points of any kind puts him at 45, which I think is a really nice season for Eklund, especially considering everything that went on this year. So the other guy we'll see here, Filip Zadina, who didn't play last game, wasn't expected to travel to Seattle. He needs 2 points in the last 4 games here to hit 25, which would set a career best for Filip Zadina. He already hit his career best in goals this year with 13. So that passes. He had a season where he had 10 goals in the 21-22 season. In 74 games, he also had 24 points that year. Right now, he has 13 goals, 10 assists for 23 points this year. Playing in less ice time than he did that, about a minute less ice time than he did that year. But I think that is, 2 points from Zadina. If he plays, we'll see how long this injury keeps him out, or if it just keeps him out for the rest of the season. But Zadina's season, I think has been a very interesting one. Again, plenty of time, but I think when he played up, you saw some of the production, but I'm not sure how sustainable it was. So, but I think overall that you have to be pretty happy with Zadina's season. He stayed relatively healthy, because that's always been his big thing, right? Just not able to stay healthy. He stayed relatively healthy this year for the Sharks, and you got a career high in goals from him. Maybe never the 40 goal guy that we potentially saw coming out of the draft, but he was definitely a solid secondary scoring option for the Sharks this season. So another one that we're kind of rooting for is Mikael Granlund. So he needs 5 points in the last 4 games here to hit 60 points, which would be the 4th time in his career he has done that. Granlund, who's been has been a huge surprise, very pleasant surprise for Sharks fans this year, and has just kind of quietly been doing his thing. And I think he's on like a 10-game point streak right now. And I honestly, I see him hitting this because I just think he's been that good for the Sharks and that important, right? He plays a bajillion minutes a night. He plays top line minutes. He plays on the power play. He's going to set his career high in average ice time, most likely. Last time he played over 20 minutes a night was that 21-22 season. He played 20-25. Right now he's at 20 minutes and 58 seconds. So basically 21 minutes a night. As long as he doesn't get hurt, he should set that, kind of his a high for his average time on ice. I think Granlund has been a great addition for the Sharks and has done a lot this year, especially with what has been asked of him. And I think for him getting a 60-point season, which if you had told me Mikael Granlund had a 60-point season coming into this year, I would have called you a liar. He's going to lead the Sharks in points. And just remember, Tomas Hertl the past 2 years had 63 points. He had 63 points and 64 points the past 2 seasons. Like Mikael Granlund in this year had 60, or is on his way to having 60. Like, if Granlund can kind of play the Hertl role for another year, or another half a year, and on a much cheaper and shorter contract, you kind of getting the same production. Cool. Sounds like a kind of a win for me. Another thing we're keeping track of: Jacob McDonald needs one more point to hit double digits for the first time. He crushed his scoring his goals with 7 goals this year, especially for a guy who played forward and defense. Like McDonald had an interesting season and has been like kind of just whatever the Sharks need. McDonald's like, cool, man, I'll do it. If you need me to go play in the Barracuda, I'll go play on the Barracuda. If you need me to play forward tonight, I'll play forward. You need me to play defense, whatever you need, man. I just want to play hockey, and he's been an absolute trooper. Be nice for him to get that 1 point, get to double digits for the first time. I know it's, 10 points, but like, I think it's got to mean something to him. So let's get him 10 points. Let's also get Colin Graff his first goal. Just get it out of the way, right? I mean, we waited so long. We saw it with Bordelot. We saw it with Eklund. Not that I'm putting Graff kind of in the same, group as these guys, but like these young guys, right? Let them get that first one in. Get that kind of that monkey off your back. You can go into the off season like knowing I'm an NHL player. I can be a scorer. Like, let's get that off his back for him. So, Clean Costin needs 3 goals. Bit of a reach here, but 3 goals to tie his career best in goals with 11. So that's a bit of a stretch, but just putting it out there. And then Mackenzie Blackwood's got a couple here. So if he starts the last 4 games, he'll tie his career high in starts, and then with 48 in his games played as well. If he increases his save percentage by 0.003, it would be his highest since pre-COVID. That kind of those breakout seasons for him, and then where he got hurt with a bunch of injuries. So just continue to get a couple more saves here. 1 shutout. If he gets a shutout in the last 4 games, ties his career high with shutouts with 3 in a season. And then if he gets 118 saves, he will also set a career high in saves per season. Blackwood, who, again, a guy who the Sharks, Sharks guys were mad about trading a 6th-round pick for Mackenzie Blackwood. I said it was a good idea. Go check the tape. And Mackenzie Blackwood, I voted him as the Sharks MVP this season, and I don't think it was particularly close. This team would have been somehow worse if it wasn't for Mackenzie Blackwood this year. So, I think the Sharks have found an answer in goal right now. So, and then one last one for the team. So if they get less than 3 points in their final 4 games, so whether it's go to overtime 3 times, that's a win, whatever, like just less than 3 points here. This will be the lowest point total season since the lockout, excluding the COVID seasons. Of course, right, we had the 56 games seasons, and then the Red Wings technically had lower, but they only played 71 games that 1920 season. I don't think they would have surpassed it, but that team was also putrid as well. So the Sharks could set a kind of modern day record for futility. And I think it's, again, ending up with less than 40 or like 45 points in 82 games. It's pretty bad, guys. We're almost there. So that's going to be it for me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk, of course, about the Kraken game. We'll maybe have some Boston College talk because that's going to be happening as well. So make sure you guys are following wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Until tomorrow. Bye, friends.